Hi, you feather merchants. This is going to be another Ironworker story. And this would have taken place in the 60s. And I was working with someone that I actually had met on Okinawa. We were in the Marine Corps together, Donnie Goodrich. And uh, we ended up doing a tour over on Okinawa together. And he went back to the States, and I stayed on Okinawa. And anyway, I knew his family was an ironworker family, and he knew my dad was an ironworker. I'm pretty certain he had in his head where when he got out of the Marine Corps, he's going to be an ironworker, and but that wasn't what I was going to do. Excuse me. Anyway, that's what happened, though. Anyway, we were working on what they call the basic oxygen furnace. It's a big building, and they were still erecting iron, sheeting the building, and so forth. Donnie and I, we were bolting up on one of the higher elevations, and we're right on the lake, Lake Michigan. And so we had a breeze. It was in the summertime, a little warm, but we had a breeze there, and it was good. It was so. It was lunchtime, so we started down the stairs to go eat lunch, and unbeknownst to me, um, the two connectors just quit. They were getting ready to erect what they call the penthouse, which would have been a little bit higher than where we were at. And like I said, it was a big building. But these two connectors, I mean, I remember watching them. They were good connectors. Anyway, they felt that this was a little bit above the call of duty, and they decided to quit. And so I didn't know this happened. And so that left the raising gang. They got three guys on the ground with the foreman, and they don't have two connectors. So Donnie, unbeknownst to me, he raises his hand and says, Jim and I will take over where they left off, and we'll connect the penthouse. So anyway, I eat my lunch, and we after lunch we're getting ready to go back up there, and Donnie's going in the wrong direction. And I asked Donnie, "Where are you going?" He said, "We got to do something different." So I don't know what he's talking about, but I'm with him, and all of a sudden I see we're walking towards the raising gang. That means, and I start putting two and two together, and I thought, this is not good. And the foreman is waiting for us, and we no sooner get up there, and Donnie gets on the headache ball. I get on the headache ball. I do not want to be there. And but by this time, I mean, I can't say no now. I could have said no at the very beginning if I'd have known about it. But anyway, we get on the headache ball, and they don't even ride the headache ball anymore. It's against the law. But back then, that's how you got up on a building. So we get on this headache ball, and boy, this guy, it isn't like you're going up in the air slow. It's like, whoo, it takes your breath away. And he's going up, and he's swinging you over to where he's going to let you off. And he lets us off on top of where the penthouse is going to be. And what it is, he lets me off on one column. Donnie goes on the next other column. And I don't remember how high the columns were, but they're not connected. They're bolted to the structure, but we're going to put the beams in, and so I'm sitting on top of this column. It's real uncomfortable. Um, you have to take your spud wrench, and the wrenches are tapered, so you can stick it in a hole, and you stick it in a hole, and you stand on it. Very uncomfortable. It hurts your feet, and you can. So I'm standing on this thing, waiting for this beam to come up, and I'm saying a lot of the bad things to Donnie, because I'm really angry. He's got me in this position because we had a really good job bolting up on the BOF. So anyway, top beam comes. I mean, you could hear that cable singing, and the ground crew, they got a tagline on it, and they're guiding it towards us. But that beam's coming up quick, and it comes up, and I take one end, he takes the other end, and he sticks a bolt in, and I line the beam up to a hole. I'm sticking bolts in, and the whole time I'm standing on this spud wrench, and the column is, whoa, it's moving back and forth, really uncomfortable, and you don't want to fall, you don't want to slip. You got plenty of time to think about whatever happened on the way down to the ground, and it's going to be real ugly. You're going to die. Anyway, then we made that top connection. Now we got to slide down the column and start working our way back up. And so anyway, we started doing that. And, this is hard connecting. And I could see why the two connectors quit, It's like, it was hard. Anyway, we spent the afternoon connecting the penthouse, and when we came down on the ground, I told Donnie, I said, I'm not doing this tomorrow. And he said, no, he said, he agreed with me. He said, they're going to get two new connectors, and we'll go back to where we were working. And so anyway, that's what we did. And that was you can't imagine how dangerous that is, And back then, it was hard to tie off. When those beams are coming up, you can get stuck between the column and the beam. And anyway, that's one story. And this other one I'm going to tell you is it's kind of funny. It's there was a guy. I remember his first name. He was working on that first job that I had worked on when I hired on as an iron worker, and I remember his name was Ray. He was a real character, loud, but he was a good iron worker, tough. One of the old guys, just a tough old guy. And the story is that, and I know this is true because I visited him in the hospital, which we're going to get to. Anyway, it was on a Sunday, and it was on his day off. And he must have had his grandkids in the back because he had little kids in the back seat, and then he was with his wife. He's in a suit, and he's going to church. The reason I said he must have had his grandkids because I remember his boy. He had one boy that was just a little bit younger than me that had come out on the job as an iron worker. So I don't think he was still making babies. I'm pretty sure it was his grandkids. So anyway, he pulls up to this stop sign, and he stopped, and evidently the church bus that was right behind him got distracted somehow, and he didn't see him stop, and he had to apply his brakes real quick, but he just tapped Ray's bumper. He never hit him hard. He just stopped, and it barely tapped his bumper. And Ray, being a union iron worker and being able to think fast on his feet, opened the door and fell out onto the pavement. And he said, I can't move. He said, my back, I can't feel anything. And the kids are crying. They're crying in the back seat because they think Ray is he's hurt. He's out there in the street in his suit. Of course, the bus driver, he gets out. People are gathering around. They're close to the church. Somebody calls for an ambulance, and his Ray's wife's told him. She said she was pissed off. She said, "Get back in the car and stop acting stupid." And he said, "I can't. I can't move." And so they're going back and forth. Anyway, they take him away in the ambulance. And we visited him in the hospital. And I'll be darned, he was in, they had him in traction. He couldn't even feed himself because he's all bandaged up and he's got cables holding his arm up because he said he can't move. And now this is in Chicago, in Illinois. And, when the Ironworkers, we worked out of Indiana naturally, and when an ironworker would fall in Indiana, they tended to get poor settlements. I don't know why, but they didn't get very good settlements. And but Illinois, if an ironworker fell, they told you. Yeah, when you fall, if you get a chance, you crawl over that state line. It was a joke. But anyway, here's Ray, and he's sitting in his hospital bed, and I'm sure he sued, but I don't remember what the outcome of the lawsuit was. But it was funny. And I've got one more story to tell you. This is about my dad and my Uncle Ray, which was his half brother. And they grew up on the south side of Chicago. And when they were kids, Ray was younger than my dad. And my grandmother tended to go through husbands pretty quick. And when the Depression hit, she found herself alone. She's got two little boys. And she lost her job. And they're eating potatoes. And according to my dad, he said, that's it. That was it. And I don't remember what grade he was in. I think he may have been in fifth or sixth grade. He might have been in sixth grade. And she told my dad that he's going to have to quit school and get a job or they're going to starve to death, So my dad quits grade school, and he did get a couple of jobs. I remember one of the jobs he had, he was an elevator boy. He was working in an elevator, operating an elevator. I don't know. Anyway, she, when it came to Ray was a little bit younger, and she talked Ray's aunt, since they had different fathers. Ray had different relatives, and she talked one of his aunts into adopting him. And which they did. They adopted him, and they lived in Michigan. So that problem was kind of solved, and they managed to get through the Depression. Of course, my dad went on to be a Marine in World War II and on as an ironworker. But anyway, getting back to Ray. Ray's up in Michigan growing up, and his aunt had adopted him. His uncle was not fond of Ray. His uncle did not like this kid. And there was a lot of friction there. Well, anyway, when Ray got to be a teenager, he decided that he's running away. And he knew where his uncle kept his money. So he broke into the cabinet and he took his money, and there was a gun there. So he took his handgun. So Ray's on the run. And, of course, his uncle, who's his stepfather, calls the police, and they're after him. And I don't remember the whole story of how long it took to get him, but when they caught up with him, he ended up going to court, and he was in front of a judge. And the judge told Ray, he said, you've never been in trouble before. And he said, normally when kids never been in trouble before. I give him a chance, and he'll get probation. But he said, in your case, I don't think probation would do you any good. I think going to prison would be much better, and I'll be darned. That judge sentenced Ray to a prison in Michigan. I can't remember which prison he did time in. I think he only did a year, but still, a young kid, it's really disrupts his life. Anyway, fast forward, Ray's out of prison, and my dad's a foreman with American Bridge out at U.S. Steel, and so my dad gets Ray on the job as an iron worker. So they're up on the roof of this building, and those steel mills, it was hard work, and anyway, Ray, I don't think he was cut out to be an iron worker. Ray, according to my dad, he fainted on the roof. Now, Ray said he actually fainted. My dad said he was pretending to faint, and he disrupted the whole program up there because my dad had to get called down to get a basket, and they had to get a basket up there. The crane brought him up there, and they put my uncle in the basket unconscious, and then he made it down to the ground, and he woke up. So anyway, one of the guys in the gang, his name was Herb. They called him Herbo. Herbo, I first met him when I was 6 years old. We were living on the south side of Chicago. And Herb was a real funny guy, tough. Oh, this guy was a tough guy. Anyway, there was a little friction between my Uncle Ray and Herb, because Herb was on the roof when this all took place. And so anyway, at the end of the day, they're going home, and of course they stop off at the tavern like they normally would, and they're drunked up, and Herb and my Uncle Ray, they get in an argument, and Ray was no slouch when it came to fighting either. He was, I think he was about at least 6'1", maybe 6'2", and that guy could fight. Anyway, they go to drop my dad off, and that's when we're living in right off of 63rd and Stony, and we were I was living on the third floor of this old building, and Herb and my Uncle Ray decide to duke it out in the courtyard. And my dad, I think my dad kind of edged Herb on. They'd all been drinking, and I remember him telling Herb when he was telling the story that he told him to kick his ass. And anyway, they fought hard. And I guess the fight lasted a lot longer than my dad thought it was going to last. And then, of course, my dad started feeling bad about it. They tore down the fence, a big wooden fence that was in the backyard. It was a big courtyard. We used to play baseball back there. Anyway, to the best of my recollection, Ray gave up and said that's enough, and Herb just certainly didn't want any more either. So that was it. And my Uncle Ray never went back to ironworking again. He ended up being a teamster. And, he drove semis cross country, and he ended up driving a truck until he was 80 years old. 80 years old driving those semis, where he finally quit. And he lived to be in his early 90s, and he died a couple years ago. And Ray was he had had 6 kids, and I remember the kids when they were little. I mean, they were all little kids. They were like, he was having them one after another, but he did a bad thing. He ran away from home, and he left his wife and the kids by themselves. Anyway, the girls, when they grew up, they held it against him. He tried to reconnect with them, and they weren't having any of it. They disowned him along with with her mother, and Ray ended up dying alone. And I felt bad for him, but what are you going to do? Anyway, when I start talking about these ironworker stories, I've got more to tell you guys, and I don't want to say too many of them because you make too long of a video, and people get bored, and hey, when's this video going to be up? Anyway, you feather merchants, I want to thank you for stopping by, and I'll see you on the next video. All right.